Let's talk about the power of layouts. We only have one layout right now, but you'll likely have dozens or hundreds in a finished solution. And what layouts mean usually is a sophisticated interface. So you really can't have too many layouts. I mean, you probably won't have 1,000, but it's conceivable to have 100 or more. So let's go ahead and investigate how to create a new layout. We're going to go ahead and go to the View menu and choose Layout Mode. So we have our one layout right here. If you pop this menu up, you can see we only have one. Our Rolodex only lets us go nowhere because there's no additional layouts here. So what we want to do is understand before we create a new layout what it's useful for. So layouts are views into your information. You could have 20 layouts looking at the same information but in different ways. You might have one layout for data entry, one for listing a lot of records at once, all on one screen rather than one record, one for printing, one for finding. You might have all kinds of layouts and have different fields and different graphics and different things. They're just different views of your information. The same information, just looking at it differently. And think of this analogy. What if you're thinking about the windows in your house and you're standing outside and you look inside one window and you can see the living room and maybe you can see part of the family room also. And then you go over to the side of the house and you can still see the living room, but you can also see now part of the kitchen. And maybe you go to another window, you can see the whole kitchen and part of the family room. Who knows what you can see? It's the same inside of the house, just different views of it. So think of that the same way as layouts, is that it's just a view. It's not schema. It's not structure. They're views. It allows you to look at that information in any way you want. And so again, you're going to have different layouts for different jobs. One for printing, one for finding, one for data entering, one for listing, one for labels, who knows what. The possibilities are endless, and it's all basically your imagination. There's some common ones like, you have a print layout and a label layout, but I do layouts for all kinds of things. You never know what you're going to create them for. So let's go ahead and show you how to create a new layout. All you do is you go up to the Layouts menu and choose New Layout/Report. And what you get is this assistant type dialog. And we're going to go over this whole area here, this whole dialog, and discover what it's all about. But I want to first identify my favorite type of layout. That is your blank layout. I usually choose blank layout and then hit finish. Why? Because it's blank. I want to do all this stuff myself. I don't want an assistant to walk me through the process. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know exactly what my layout is going to look like, and none of these are really going to help me that much. So it's up to you what you use, but once you get familiar with FileMaker, you'll realize if I want a really professional, unique looking interface that represents me, you're not going to use one of these views and use one of their assistants to help you out to make these things. So let's go back to standard form, and notice how this picture changes over here and gives you an idea what it looks like. And let's start off with what you really will start off with first. And what you want to do is go from top to bottom, left to right. So first thing you want to do is pop this menu up and choose the correct table. We only have one table right now, so there's not much of a choice here. But also I want you to understand this is a table occurrence list. Table occurrences are representing a table. They're kind of like aliases or shortcuts. But for right now, at this point, since we haven't covered relationships and table occurrences, this really is a table. So we're going to make sure we choose the right table. Again, we only have one, so we choose this one. Then we get to give it a name, so we'll call it List. That's because we're going to create a list view layout, so we can view many records at once. And then we want to understand what this checkbox is for. With it checked, you can see from this Layout pop-up menu, you can see that choice of that layout from any mode, browse mode, preview mode, all the modes. If you uncheck it, you can only get to that layout from this menu by going into layout mode. You won't see it from browse mode, find mode, or preview mode. So I often do this because I don't want people switching layouts unless I have a button running it, but that's another lesson another day. Let's keep it checked for right now for simplicity's sake. And then let's go over these different types of layouts. You have your standard form. This is like what we have over here. But when you go through it with this wizard, which we're really not going to cover much on this, it will ask you a lot of questions like what fields do you want on it? What interface do you want? It'll do a simple interface for you. It'll ask you all kinds of questions and create them for you. But again, I want to create these things myself. A table view is nice. It's like an Excel spreadsheet. I don't often use this view, It's a lot like a list view, but more like a spreadsheet because it gives you unlimited columns and rows and things like that. It gives you the ability to change the column order and stuff. A lot of people like that, but the reason I don't like that and I like a list view better, which is very similar, is that I can put a lot more of my interface on the list view. So I highly recommend you use list views and not use table views, except maybe in your own personal databases because you know FileMaker. But for something you're developing for somebody else, another user, table view is just going to take you out of the interface. There's not a lot of interface you can put on it, so you won't have the same color scheme and things like that you would have on your form views and other views. You also have your report, which allows you to create sub-summary reports. But again, I don't use this very often because what do? You can create all this stuff from scratch. You don't need the wizard. So we're going to show you how to do that. Blank layout again. If you keep scrolling down, you have labels, like Avery 5160 labels. It'll walk you through how to do that. Again, you can do that all from scratch. You don't need to use this. Vertical labels. You have envelopes. And again, I just go with the blank layout always because that's the easiest for me.